Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go with them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, or later on today, because I'm following part 5, I'm going to be part 6 of the story, titled, Husband Tricks Wife into Writing Confession About Affair with Coworker, Then Throws Her Out in Tears. And guys, where things left off, our hero here, who's the author of the story, and Jim, who has been cheated on by his wife, and Beth, who was cheated on by her husband, are all getting together a support group here and talking things through and sharing their strategies of what's going on. And also our guy telling the story was meeting with his attorney Angie, and Angie was giving him reading him the riot act for doing some boneheaded things, but now things are back on track. So now we're going to continue on where things are going, and as I said, this is going to be interesting. So they continue on saying, Beth said she was positive both kids are hers. Well, I would imagine so. She smiled and said that she was there for both births. She hadn't thought about an STD test. She'll do that tomorrow. Fred calls, but she doesn't talk to him. He left a message asking to see his children. Beth texted Fred back that they aren't his kids. Their real father has a much bigger package. Beth said, unfortunately, they really are Fred's kids, but Beth thought it might be fun to F with him. She says, let the shitbird wonder. Eventually, she'll tell him the truth and let him see his kids. Maybe when her kids are in their 30s. Well, Fred is a cheater and an asshole and all that, but, at the end of the day, if they're his kids, and he should be able to see them, Unless he's really doing any kind of mental or emotional harm to them. Now, let's be honest here. I told him it's almost a month since I threw Linda out. She calls and texts. Can she come home now? She loves me. She hates herself for how she acted, blah, blah, blah. But Fred was her only affair. Can't we just talk? I ignore her, and when Angie called her to tell Linda she got an attorney, Linda said there's no need. I'll eventually come to my senses and take her back. Linda's just waiting for my call, asking her to come home, and we've already served Linda with the divorce papers. We don't have kids, so there's nothing for me to talk to Linda about. Notice all that crap Linda, his wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, saying all right from the Hobag handbook. The typical BS lines they say when they're caught. I asked if anyone is considering taking their spouses back. Beth just laughed. Jim said, no way. I said I have no intention of ever talking to Linda ever again. Next up to talk about, Linda and Carol have a third BFF, Jessica, who participated in their DMs. Her husband is Nico. There's nothing in the DMs to suggest Jessica ever cheated on Nico. But she certainly supported and encouraged Linda and Carol's infidelity. Should we let Nico know that Jessica knew about our wives' adultery? Jim said he and Nico have become friends. They've been working out together Saturday mornings. Jim continued that he hasn't heard from Nico since he threw Carol out. Nico is not returning Jim's calls. Jim missed last Saturday at the gym. He had an event to go to with his son. Well, get back to the gym. Jim, get back to the gym, damn it. Got to keep your ass in shape. You got to stay strong to get through all this. Jim said that he doesn't want Nico to think Jim was one who's been unfaithful. Also, it doesn't make sense that Jessica encouraged Carol and Linda's cheating, but didn't do it herself. Regardless, Nico should know that his wife knows about and supports her friend's infidelity. Nico may want to ask his wife her views on adultery. Beth agreed in everything Jim said. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, we all agree Nico should know. How do we tell him? Jim said he'll show Nico the DMs where Jessica supports Linda and Carol's infidelity. Nico can do what he wants with the information. I suggested he show Nico the discussion the three of them had after the pool party. Those DMs went on for nearly 2 weeks. They kept talking about their hookups at the pool party because Jessica kept pressing them for every juicy detail. They stopped talking about the pool party only because Linda wanted advice about how to entice Fred into bed. Jim said showing Jessica's fascination with what her friends did at the pool party should do the trick. Beth said she agreed with Jim, and they smiled at each other. Yeah, we can see the brewing romance that's between Jim and Beth. Neither of them need to get into a fucking romance right now. Gotta get through this shit. I told them I wanted first to ask Angie about sharing anything with Nico, but I don't think she'll have a problem. If Angie says okay, I'll email Jim the section of our wives' DMs about the pool party tomorrow. Good, consult your attorney. Did Jim want me or Beth with him when we talked to Nico? Jim says it's probably better if he met with Nico on his own. Nico will probably be at the gym Saturday at the usual time. He'll call Beth to let her know what happened right after he talks to Nico. Can I get Beth's number? They switched phones to exchange contact information. Jim said, of course, he'll call me too. One more thing. I told him Angie and Greg suggested I watch SSM videos to help me through the divorce. I think both Jim and Beth should watch his channels too. Of course, everybody should watch my channels. I told him I wrote and sent my story to you. It includes a lot about Jim and Beth. There are 4 videos about us. Beth is considered a heroine by a lot of the people who commented. Yeah, y'all love Beth. Beth the Barbarian, the badass. I'm picturing, Conan the Barbarian's chick in the first Conan movie, because the second one was ridiculous in the first Conan movie. What the hell was her name? Valeria? The blonde? Yeah, she was masculine because she was an ass kicker, but still, I'm kind of picturing Beth. Got to give her a crown and one of those outfits and a sword. They should start with the 4 SSM did about us. I told him how to find the videos. Jim suggested that he and Beth watch them together. Oh, I'm sure he did. Another idea of Jim that Beth thought was wonderful. That was the end of our meeting. So they're going to get down to my videos. That'll be great. I called Angie the next morning to ask about sharing the DMs with Nico. No problem, except Nico's wife will tell her BFF, Linda, and Carol that we have the DMs. Exactly. I said we all think Nico should know about his wife's involvement. Does Angie have a better idea? Angie thought a while and she agrees we should tell Nico. Sooner or later, our wives are going to know that we still have the DMs anyway. There's nothing they can do about that. Go ahead and show it to Nico. I told her I'm willing to bet she'll soon have Nico as a client. She laughed and said she won't take that bet. I told her that Beth and Jim really seemed to hit it off. She asked me to tell her what happened. So even Angie is a girl, wants some gossip. She said she has to talk to Jim anyway, so she'll remind him that he's still married. So is Beth. They can both be countersued for infidelity by their spouses. Exactly. That makes divorce a real shit show. And if the two of them get serious about each other, they may decide to just get the divorces over with quickly so they can be together sooner. That would be crazy. Rushing to settle is always a mistake. Also, Angie continued, it's way too soon for either of them to get involved with anyone. Thank you, Angie. Not just because they'd be committing adultery, but because both should be working on themselves. Thank you. As I found out, healing from infidelity and divorce is not easy. Healing is not done by losing yourself in someone else. The 3 of us can help each other as friends, but not the 2 of them are lovers. I told Angie I know what she means, and during our support meeting, I felt like the third wheel. She said she'll talk to Jim. I should not be reluctant to tell them to go slow. Discussing stuff like this is why we're in a support group in the first place. Angie said good luck with Nico, and we got off the phone. Yep, I agree with Angie. So Jim called me Saturday night. He found Nico at the gym and asked if they could talk. Jim and Nico said he's sorry Jim's marriage is over, but he doesn't have any sympathy for cheaters. Why would Jim ruin his marriage over some foolish fling? Jim told Nico he was not the one cheating. So of course Nico's being told by Jessica that Jim is a big fat cheater. Also, Nico's wife knew both Carol and Linda were cheating and encouraged their infidelity. He has proof that Carol and Linda were cheating, not Jim or me, and proof Jessica knows that. Jim handed Nico copies of the DMs he printed out and told him to call Jim or me with any questions. Well, let's remember that Nico here is being blindsided, and no guy wants to even think that his wife could be, anything but perfect. Nico called Jim Saturday night after Nico had a long talk with his wife Jessica. Uh-oh. Jessica has also been unfaithful. Holy shit, he got her to admit that. Can Jim recommend a lawyer? Jim gave Angie info, and Jim said he asked Nico if he wanted to attend our support sessions. Nico also asked for details and agreed to join. Jim told Nico and Beth that I would agree to include them. Jim will let him know. Yeah, well, Jim may not be too happy if Nico shows up, and Beth starts checking out Nico, and then next thing you know, we have a fucking drama fest here. Jerry. So Jim said he's already talked to Beth and she's okay with Nico joining our support group. What do I think? I said the more the merrier. He said Wednesday night is good for Beth and him. Beth will make us all dinner. Wednesday works for me. It was all a good night for Nico, so Wednesday it is. When I arrived at Beth's Wednesday, when you arrive there, they're in a threesome. When I arrived at Beth's Wednesday, Jim was already there helping Beth cook dinner. Oh, I'm sure he was. Both of them were dressed in inexpensive but casual clothes. Both wanted to look their best. Beth really looked good, more like a teenager than a 30 years mother or two. I asked if I could help with dinner. Beth suggested I set the table and pointed to where she kept her dishes. I asked where the kids were. Beth said at her parents'. Jim said he got a babysitter. No play date tonight. Nico arrived just before dinner was ready. His daughter wasn't with him. So we sat down to dinner. Beth is a really good cook. We each gave Nico a summary of our situations, and Beth asked Nico to tell us about himself. Tell us about yourself, Nico. Nico's age 30 and Jessica's 28. Their daughter is 5 years old. Nico joined the Army when he was 17, right out of high school. He spent over 6 years in the military. He grew up right outside the university town where Jessica went to college. Nico and Jessica met at a college party where Nico was home on leave. Oh, God. Another military guy that, got serious while he was in the military. He was invited to the party by a buddy he knew from high school. He and Jessica hit off and kept in touch. Whenever Nico was home and Jessica was at school, Jessica and Nico saw each other. When Nico left for the service, Jessica was in her senior year. Nico spent more time in her dorm room than he did at home. Jessica grew up about 70 miles from the university. She came back from spending Christmas and semester break at home her senior year and told Nico she was pregnant. Nico and Jessica married. Smack! That's crazy. How about a paternity test? How about to make sure this bun in the oven's yours? And if it was, doesn't mean you gotta rush off and get married. So after she graduated, Jessica insisted they live in her hometown so her mother could help with the baby. Nico didn't care where they lived. Jessica's father owns a string of laundromats. He hired his new son-in-law to collect the cash from the laundromat's washers, dryers, and soap dispensers, count it, and make sure the bank deposits, and Jessica's a stay-at-home mom. Oh gee, that's fun. So what happened when Nico confronted Jessica with the DMs about the pool party? Jessica's initial story was that the DMs Jim gave Nico were fake, of course. Jim was mad at Jessica because she supported Carol's decision to divorce Jim since Jim cheated on Carol. The same story Carol told Jim about me. Nico told Jessica he didn't believe Jim cheated on Carol or I'd cheat on Linda. Nico wanted to know why Jessica supported her friend's infidelity. Was Jessica also unfaithful? Nico was angry and Jessica figured this wasn't going away. Well, she figured right. And Jessica wanted Nico's focus on something other than what Jessica's been up to. So Jessica broke down, in tears of course, and admitted that she was covering for her friends. She participated in the DMs only because she wanted to hear about her friends' adventures. But it was just like watching a soap opera or an ongoing drama. You mean women like drama? Huh. Better than a soap opera. It was amusing listening to her two crazy friends discussing their hookups. She offered advice and encouragement so she could participate in the drama, but she never participated in the cheating. Who cares? She still knows that these two women are cheating on their husbands, and these husbands don't deserve this unless these women are telling them awful stories. But regardless, Jessica figured Carol and Linda would do what they do regardless of what Jessica did or said. Why not be entertained by their escapades? I don't know, she could watch fucking Netflix to be entertained. It was not her place to tell Carol and Linda's husbands their wives were unfaithful. Well, she could tell these hoe bags, hey, you're being assholes. Linda and Carol and her friends, not their husbands. But there was nothing in the DMs that showed that Jessica ever cheated on Nico with anyone. That's because she would never cheat on Nico. Then Nico asked to see Jessica's phone. Things got heated really fast. Well, if there's nothing to hide, why get all heated? Nico said that he and Jessica argued for almost an hour about her giving Nico her phone. Jessica was enraged that Nico would ever ask to see her phone. What hurtful distrust. What a horrible, controlling thing for him to ask of her. She knows now that Nico doesn't love her. How could he say he loves her but not trust her? Oh, for God's sakes. What does Nico think he is? Her parent? She's an adult. If he wants to know something, he should just ask her. Jessica is always honest with him. And yet, she supports two women that are cheating on their husbands and all that. Nico pointed out she just lied to him when she was covering her friend's infidelity. That stopped Jessica for a while. Then Jessica said he's not giving Nico her phone, period, the end. Okay, then get the fuck out. Jessica told Nico she's so upset that she doesn't want to talk to Nico. She's going for a walk to think. No, she's going for a walk to figure out her next plan and to wipe her phone. It's clear that Nico doesn't love her. She put on a coat and picked up her phone. Nico told her that if she leaves with the phone, she will not be allowed back in the apartment. Ever. First thing Monday, he'll call an attorney. She can walk all she wants, but if she doesn't give him her phone, their marriage is over. Period. The end. Jessica said she'd give Nico her phone, but she has to use the bathroom first. Yeah, oops, I slipped on the phone and smashed into a million pieces, so you can't look at the phone now. Give her a minute and they can sit down and together and go through anything Nico wants to look at. Nico said if she needs to use the bathroom, no problem. He'll wait for her to finish so they can go through her phone together. Just open her phone up and give it to him first. She's not taking her phone out of his sight. He's not going to let her wipe her phone. Jessica started crying. Hobag Handbook, Chapter 2. How can Nico treat her like this? She's never given him any reason to distrust her. Nico said she's not only condoned her friends cheating, she encouraged them. And then lied to Nico about it. He no longer trusts her about anything. Jessica really started crying now, but sat down next to Nico, opening her phone and gave it to him. She told Nico she's so sorry. She never intended to hurt him. Just remember she loves him, no one else. Please forgive her. She'll do whatever he wants to stay married. Gee, this all sounds a bit familiar. Nico said Jessica told him shortly after they met that she had a boyfriend throughout high school. She talked about her high school boyfriend because he was the only long-term relationship she had before Nico. She broke it off with her boyfriend their senior year in high school because he cheated on her. So she dated some at college, but none of them was serious and happened before she met Nico. She occasionally bumped into her ex, but that was just a hello and goodbye. That's the story Jessica had always told Nico when she talked about her past. The texts on her phone tell a different story. In this update, I'm going to refer to Jessica's high school boyfriend as X. Professor X. Here's what Nico told us about Jessica's text with X. X has recently been working on the night shift as a security guard. Jessica gets the kid to school in the morning. She makes breakfast for X at his place and spends the day with him. She leaves in time to pick up the daughter and start dinner for Nico and their kid. Remember, Nico's working. Jessica's a stay-at-home mom. A lot of their texts are like those between an old married couple. She has a dental appointment, so she won't be able to make him breakfast. She was like getting the kid because he wanted to keep fooling around. She's going for groceries. Anything he wants her to get besides the usual. Maybe they can go out to dinner and a movie if she can figure out what to tell Nico. Some of the texts were continuations of arguments they were having. X owed someone money. The guy thought Jessica was hot and told X he'd forgive the debt if he could spend the night with Jessica. Okay with X, but Jessica refused. Of course, X is ready to trade her for a debt. Then X told Jessica if she won't sleep with the guy, she has to come up with the money to pay off X's debt. The text didn't say Jessica decided to help X with his debt. Oh my God. But right after the text about X debt stopped, Jessica told Nico she had to stay overnight at her parents to help care for her sick mother. Oh, Jessica's such a good daughter. Nico remembers that because Jessica never stayed over at her parents' house. And when Nico saw Jessica's father the next day at work, he asked the father how his wife was doing. Jessica's father said his wife was okay, but it was clear didn't know why Nico was asking her about her. After the first time, Jessica had to stay over to care for her mother every few weeks. Nico told us Jessica evidently figured out what to tell Nico so she could stay overnight with X. Or with the guy X owed money to. Oh, so she's sleeping with this other guy to pay off her chatter tyrant X's debts. Or some other lover. It wasn't very risky for Jessica to tell Nico she was at her parents'. Nico's relationship with her parents was cordial but not really friendly. Nico only talked to Jessica's father about business. He had no reason to talk to Jessica, his mother, unless they were at some family function. Another sore point with Jessica was X seeing other women. Lots of angry texts from Jessica about X's cheating, but it's something she's known about since high school and continues to put up with. Oh, so she's chasing the guy who's a cheater. Shocker. At some point, another sore point with Jessica was X seeing other... I read that part. The texts that tore Nico's heart out were those about their daughter. She told X in a text that he made Jessica late picking up their daughter. X told Jessica she spoils the daughter too much. She replied the kid is X's daughter too. X should care more about his girl. Oh my God. This poor bastard's going to find out that his daughter, who he thought was his daughter, is actually this douchebag X's. Imagine that. This is why I said paternity tests and you don't marry her. Nico shook his head, sighed, and continued. Jessica never broke it off with X. She saw him on college breaks and summers. After they moved to Linda's hometown and the baby was born, Jessica took the kid to her mother so she could be with X, while Nico was at work. And X never seems to have money. Jessica's been buying him groceries, clothes, and other stuff for years with Nico's money. And that is how Chad and Tyrone roll. Chad and Tyrone don't have a fucking job. No. Then Nico asked Jessica about his daughter. Nico said Jessica insisted that Nico is the father. The stuff in the text about X being the father was just to guilt trip X, so X would be more considerate of the girl. So Nico asked if his daughter spent any time with X. Jessica claimed when the girl was a baby, she occasionally took her daughter with her when she saw X, but that stopped when the girl was old enough to talk. Jessica didn't want the daughter to talk about some man they visited, and X never wanted the girl around. Nico told us that he believes he got the husband and father's job because X isn't father material. Exactly. Or husband material. Nico said they got the DNA test and he's waiting for the results. But she's Nico's daughter regardless of what the tests say. Well, that's Nico's choice. But this is heartbreaking. But sadly happens a lot. Can you imagine a world where everybody did paternity tests? Holy shit. What was the outcome of Nico's confrontation with Jessica? Nico said there was lots of crying, begging, pleading, and denying. Jessica just wants to explain. Nico told her, shut up. He's not interested in anything Jessica has to say. Nico told her she's leaving now and not to come back. And she's leaving with only the clothes on her back. Whatever she needs from now on, X or her parents can buy her. Or X continue to pimp her out. Jessica was howling now. Nico continued that he told Jessica that the daughter will be living with him. Jessica will have no further contact with Nico or his daughter, none. He doesn't want his daughter exposed any longer to someone with Jessica's complete lack of morals. No negotiations, no compromises. Jessica is out of both their lives for good. He will not give Jessica any of his assets and won't support her in any way going forward. Well, a judge may see different. If a judge doesn't grant him sole or full custody, or if a judge orders Nico to give Jessica anything, Nico will ignore the judge's order. Jessica stopped crying and told Nico he can't do that. Nico told her just watch him. Well, Nico means business, but unfortunately, a judge tells him something, well, you all know how that will go. So anyway, guys, this is going to be the end of part 6, because I need a break and I got to go to the bathroom. So, 2 hours, I'll continue on part 7, how this saga is going. So instead of 2 long ones today, we're having 3 medium-sized videos here, mix things up a bit. So again, giving you guys a break for a couple hours, and you continue on at nighttime to see how this whole part wraps up for today's saga. And we know darn well there'll be more bullshit coming in the future. So I'll see y'all in a couple hours.